variation and logical reasoning. All right, yesterday we were able to treat some questions. So we are going to continue today. So we are going to look at some technical questions under variation. You see, over time we have been looking at variation, and we have looked at different subtopics, question under different subtopic. Today we are going to be going in depth and look at some questions that students may always want to run away from. Okay, so I want you to get yourself ready for today's class, and don't forget to invite your friends, let them know the class has started, right? And don't also forget to get your writing materials, get your pen, your biro, your book, okay, and your calculator if need be. All right, okay, so and always remember to share this video around with your friends, and also always remember to give the class a thumb. And don't forget, if you have not subscribed to this channel, ensure you subscribe to this channel before we end the video today. Okay, so while we are waiting for others to join us, so let me put down the question for today on the board. Okay, once again, you're welcome to class. All right. Okay, so this is the first question we are going to be considering today. And I want to believe you guys have invited your friends, have let them know the class has started. Okay. So the question we have on the board is partial variation question. Now let's go through the question together. The distance d covered by a curve varies partly as time t and partly as square of the time. Now if d equals to 90 kilometer when t is 2 hours and d is 200 kilometer when t is 4 hours. Now find Roman numeral 1 the relation between d and t, and the Roman numeral 2 the distance covered in 5 hours. So how do we solve this type of problem? Now we need to read in between lines to understand what the question is talking about. We have three variables majorly here. Okay, we have two rather. So we have the distance and we have what? The time. Okay, the distance d covered by a curve varies partly as the time and partly as the square of the time. Okay, so now let's interpret that. Distance d covered by a curve varies partly as t, as the time. So that means it's equals to time t. So we introduce a constant. Let's call the constant a. Okay. So and write plus partly as the square of t. So that means we also have t square, because partly as the square of t. So and then we can introduce another constant. Let's call that b. So here now in this equation we have a and b to be equal to the constants. Okay. All right, so that's the first thing to do. Once we get that, so the next thing now is to plug in the values given here. Now, the first thing we have here, d is 90 kilometer when t is 2. So let's plug in the values. So we have d to be 90 equals to t is 2. So we have 2a. T is 2, so 2 times a is going to be 2a. Now we have 2 squared times b. Okay, so we can simply write, or we divide through by 2. Now when you divide this by 2, you have 45 equals to a. When you divide this by 2, you have a plus. When you divide this by 2, you know 2 squared is the same thing as 2 times 2. So when you cut 1, so we'll be left with 1, 2. So we have 2. So we call this equation 1. Okay. So now let's look at what we have here now. We are also told now that d is 200 when t is 4 hours. Okay, let's plug in the values. So we plug it into this equation. We have 200 equals to t. What is t? T is what? Is 4. So 4 hours. So we have 4a. 4 times a plus we have t. T is 4. That's 4 squared times b. Okay. So we can divide through by 4, just like we did here. We divided by 2. So let's divide by 4. When you divide by 4, you have 50. This divided by 4, that gives you 50. Now 4a divided by 4, we have a plus. Now when you divide 4 squared b divided by 4, you have 4b. So we call this one equation 2. Right? So now the next thing is to solve these equations simultaneously. So we subtract one from the other. Now let's say subtract equation 1 from 2. Equation 1 from 2. That is 50 minus 45. That is 5. Okay, equals to a minus a. That's 0. 2b minus 4b minus 2b. That's 2b. So here you can divide both sides by 2. So when you do that, you have 5 over 2 equals to b. So B is the same thing as 5 over 2. Now let's get A. So let's plug in the value of B into equation 1. So from 1 now we have 45 equals to A plus 2 times B. B is 5 over 2. Okay, so these two cancel these two. So we have 45 equals to A plus 5. Now we can subtract 5 from both sides. So we have 45 minus 5 equals to A. So A equals to 40. So now we have gotten the two constants. So we can now get the connecting formula or the relation between D and T. The relation between D and T. All right, so now we just come here and we plug in the values of the constants B and A. So we have D equals to A is what? 40. We have 40T plus, now B is what? 5 over 2. So we have 5T squared over 2 is the connecting formula. Okay, so that is what we have here. Okay, so now what is the next thing? Now the question asks you to calculate the distance covered in 5 hours. What is the distance covered in 5 hours? So how do we go about this? So we just plug in the value of T into this connecting formula. That is T is 5. So we have D will be equals to 40 times 5 plus 5 times 5 over 2. This is 5 squared because T is 5. So we just substitute T, 5 for T. So what do we have next? So when you multiply, we have D equals to what? 240 times 5. Now, what do we have here? We have 5 times 5, 25, 25 times 5, 125 over 2. Okay, so now D is the same thing as 200 plus, now 2 goes in 12, that is 6. 2 goes in 5, that is 2, remainder 1. So we have 62 and a half. So we can join the two together. We have D equals to 262 and half. What's the unit of distance there? So that's going to be in kilometers. Okay, so is that what we have there? Yes, so it's going to be in kilometers. That is the unit. So the distance that is covered in 5 hours is 262 and a half kilometers. All right. Okay, so that is the answer to that problem. I want to believe you got that explanation. All right. So if you are just joining and you have not give a thumb to the class, ensure you do that quickly. And also, if you are new on this channel and you haven't subscribed to this channel, ensure you do that. Okay. Thank you. All right. So now we are moving down to another question. We are moving down to another question today. All right. This another question. Yes, can we examine this question and let's see how to solve this problem. Now, the wages W of a worker varies partly as the number of days worked and partly as the square of the number of days. Now, if W is 6,000 naira when D is 4 and W is 11,000 naira when D is 6. Okay, so you have to find Roman numeral 1 connecting formula and Roman numeral 2 the wages for 8 days. The wages for 8 days. Now, we've already gotten the idea of the question. Now, the wages W of a worker varies partly as the number of days and partly as the square of the what? Of the number of days. Now, we can see from the question here. Now, the number of days have been represented with small letter d because that is the meaning of what we have here. So, now I will write W varies partly, that is wages, varies partly as the number of days. This as D, small letter D. So introduce a proportionality constant, let's say A, and that is plus partly as the square of number of days. Square of number of days, we have D square. You can introduce another proportionality constant B. So we have A and B as our constants. Okay, so that's what we have here. So then we need to get the two equations that will help us to get the two constants. So now let's look at it. Now we have wages to be 6,000 when wages is still 6,000. Number of days will be what? 4 days. Okay. So now let's plug in these two values into this equation. So we have 6,000 equals to D, which is 4a plus D, which is also 4. That's going to be 4 square B. All right, so we can simply divide through by 4. All right, so when you divide by 4, this is going to give you 1,500. Divide this by 4, we have A, plus when you divide this by 4, you have 4B. We call this equation 1. You know, 4 square is 4 times 4. So when you divide it by 4, 4 cancel 1, 4. So you are left with a 4, and that is the 4 we have here. So that is the first equation. Now let's look at the second one. Now, W is 11,200. Okay. Y D is 6. So we have 6A. So D I've represented 6. So all right, plus 6 square B. Okay. So now let us see. Will 6 completely go in this? Now let's see now. 6 goes in 11. That is 1. Okay. It remains what? It remains 5. Okay. Remain 5, and that is you put that 5 in front of 2. So how many 6 are we going to see in 52? So what do we have there? So will it completely go? 52 divided by 6, what do we have? Okay, are you doing that for me? 52 divided by 6, or we just divide through by 6, 11200 divided by 6. What does that give us? So it will not completely go. Okay, so now let's leave it this way, or we just divide through by 2. Now let's divide by 2. So 11,200 divided by 2. Okay, so we have 5,600. Okay, equals to 3a plus, now we have 36 over 2b. Okay, so when you divide 36 by 2, you have 18. So you can simply write 18b. Okay, so that is what we have there. All right, so this is going to be the second equation. Now, to solve these two equations now, you make a to be the solution of the formula in equation 1. So let's do that. We have a equals to, now let's bring this to this side. We have 1500 minus 4b. Okay, let's call this equation 3. Now we plug in this a into this equation. Now let's do that. We have 5600 equals to 3 times 1005 minus 4b plus 18b. All right, so now what do we have here? So we have 5600. Now when you multiply, what do you have? 4500. Okay, so 3 times minus 4, that's minus 12b. Okay, so plus 18b. Hope you understand that. So now let's collect the like terms. We have 5600 minus 4500 equals to minus 12b plus 18b. All right, so now let's subtract. What do we have? We have 1100. Okay, 1100. Now, when you subtract this or you add this together, what do you have? You have 6b. Okay, minus 12b plus 18b. So that's what you have. So you divide both sides by 6. Now we have 110 over 6 equals to b. So we can reduce that. Okay, we can reduce this by 2. So when you divide this by 2, you have 5. 2 goes in 11, that is 5 remainder, and in 10, that is 5, 0 over 3 equals to b. So we divide this one by 2, this by 2. Okay, so now what's the next thing to do? We have to get the value of a. So let's just plug in the value of b into equation 3. So we have a equals to 1500 minus 4 times, now the b is 550 over 3. Okay, so we have a equals to 1500 minus, so let's see, we multiply this by 4, that gives us minus what? That's minus 2200, okay, over 3. So that's what we have. And so what's the next thing? So let's get a. So 1500 minus. So what do we have when we divide it? So we have divide by 3. So we have 733.3. So now we can remove that from 1500. So when you do that, so what do you have? We have a equals to 766.67. So that's what we have. Okay. All right. So this time around we have a decimal number. So okay, so we can get the connecting formula now. So what is going to be the connecting formula? So the connecting formula here it's going to just come here and plug in the values of A and B. So we have W equals to A is 766.67 D plus what is B? B is 550, okay, over 3. This D square. You can write it this way, this way. So this is going to be the connecting formula. All right. So now the question wants you to find the wages when the days, the number of days is 8. Okay, so all we just need to do is just to plug in this 8 into this connecting formula. So we get the wages. So when D is 8, so now let's plug in the value of D. We have W equals to 766.67 times 8, okay, and the plus 550 times 8 square, everything over 3. Okay, so what do we have now? So when you multiply, we have 766.67 times 8. So if you do it correctly, you have 6,000. You have 6,133.36 plus, and let's do this. So this one is 8 times 8, 64. 64 times 550, so divided by 3. So what do we have? So we have 11,733.3. So now let's add together. So what do we have all together? Okay, 6,133.36. Okay, can you do the addition and drop your answer in the comment section? Let's see. Drop your answer, your whole answer. Drop your own answer in the comment section. So what I have here now is 17,866.69 kobo. So this is what we have for the question. So this is the answer. So this is going to be the wages. All right. So I want to believe you guys understand what we have on the board. So this time around, we work with decimal. This time around, we're actually working with decimal too. It requires a lot of attention. Okay. Okay. So yes. Now we need to move forward. So we look at another question. Just like I said, I want us to look at some questions on the logical reasoning. But before then, let us take this question and see how do we solve this type of problem. Another problem here. All right. The volume V of a gas varies jointly as the pressure P and the temperature T. If the pressure is increased from 4 units to 6 units, while the temperature is increased from 10 units to 15 units, and the volume increases by 240 centimeter cube. Find the original volume. All right. Okay, so this is the question. Yes. Can we go through the question together? Let's see. How do we solve this problem? Yes. How do we solve this problem? Now, the volume V of a gas varies jointly as the pressure P and the temperature T. If the pressure is increased from 4 units to 6 units, while the temperature is increased from 10 units to 15 units, the volume increases by 240 centimeter cube. Now you have to find the original volume. So how do we solve this problem? Okay. Now the first thing is to write out the relationship between the variables. Now we have V varies jointly as pressure P, that is P, and the temperature. It varies jointly as pressure P and temperature T. So we have it this way. All right, do you get that? Okay, good. So now once you have the variation, the next thing is to introduce the proportionality constant. So now this turns to V equals to KPT, where K is a constant. I hope you get that. All right, so now look at what we have here. If the pressure is increased from 4 units to 6 units, all right, so that means we have initial or original pressure, okay, and we now have a final pressure, okay. So now, and the same thing also applies to the temperature. There's an increase from 10 units to what? To 15 units. So there's change in temperature. So now let's do it this way. Now let's say initial volume. Initial volume. So we have V equals to K. Now the pressure at that time is 4. Okay, that's 4 units. While the temperature, look at it now, the initial is increased from 4. That means initial pressure is 4 units. Now I now move down to this. Now let us look at initial temperature now. Why the temperature is increased from 10 to 15. So initial temperature is what? 10 units. So we can plug in that. So that means we have V initial. You can call V initial V1. Okay, so this will be V1. So we have 40K. All right, let's take note of that. Now let us now look at the new volume. The new volume we have V2, let's call it V2. The new volume will be, now we substitute inside this equation. So we have K times, now P, the new pressure now is where? Is on 6. So it has been increased from 4 to what? To 6. So that means we have P to be 6. And what of the temperature? The temperature have been increased from 10 to what? To 15. So we have 15 here. All right. So what do we have now? So we have P2 equals to, so when we multiply, what do we have? 1, 2, 3. So we have that 90, that's 90K. All right. So that is V2. Now look at what the question says. And the volume increased by 240. The volume increased by 240. Now, I want you to understand this statement. It's very, very important. Now, when the temperature is moved from 4 units to 6 units, while the temperature is also increased from 10 units to what? To 15, and the volume increases by what? It increases by 240. Now, when they say something increases by, that means the difference in volume. The difference in volume now is going to give you 240. That is the meaning. Okay. All right. That does not mean that the final volume is going to be 240. So we have V2 minus V1 will give us 240. So, and that's what the question is saying, because it increases by this. All right. So now in this case, now don't forget what we want to get now. We want to know what is going to be the volume, the initial volume. That's what we want to get now. All right. So we have this. Now you can, let's try and make this to be the subject of the formula. We move this one here. We have V2 minus 240 equals to V1. So we can have it that way. All right. So now, what's the next thing to do here? So we need to connect. Let's see how to connect these two together. All right. So let's see. So we need to connect this and this together. So we have 90K minus 40K is equals to 240. You get that now? Because this is actually the first volume and this the second volume, sorry, that's V2. This one is V1 that we have here. So when you subtract, you have this. So when you subtract this now, what do we have? We have 50K equals to 240. You get that? So we have K equals to 240 over what? over 50. All right, so this we cancel this. So we have k equals to 240 over 5. All right, so now, so how do we now get the initial volume? How do we get the initial volume? Don't forget that we already have an expression here. V1 equals to V2 minus 240. So we have V1 equals to, now what is V2? This is V2. We have 90 times K. So what is our K? We have 240 over 5 minus 240. Okay, so now that gives us 90. So 5 goes here, 1, 5 goes here, that's 18. Okay, so we have 18 times 24 minus 240. Okay, so when we do that, what do we have? So we have 432 minus 240. Okay, so 432 minus 240. So when you subtract, what do you have? Okay, so you have 192. So the initial volume will be V1 will be 192 centimeter cube. And this is going to be the answer to the problem. All right, so I want to believe we'll get that. So that is how to solve that kind of problem. All right, so I'm going to be stopping here on the variation. So let me see if we can move further for today under logical reasoning, because I actually promised we're going to look at a question under logical reasoning. Okay, now let me just bring out this. All right. Okay, so now let's look at this question under logical reasoning. Yes, let P be the statement 6 is a composite number and Q be the statement perfect squares are integers. So you have to find the truth values of the following proposition. So we want to find the truth value of this. Now, before I do this, the first thing I must know is the truth table for and or implication. All right, so that will help me now to be able to solve this. So I'm going to display that here. All right, so let's quickly take note of that. So we have two statements. Statement P and Q. So we have true, true, false, false. True, false, true, false. Okay, so P and Q, P or Q, P implies Q. Okay, so now let's see what is the truth value. Truth values for and, for or, and for implication. This symbol is for and, while this is for or, and this is for implication. Now let's see. True and true is true, while true and false is false. False and true is false. False and false is false. Okay, so you can check my last video. I explained all of this, how we arrived at all of these results. So now for or, we have true or true is true, true or false is true, false or true is true, but false or false is false. Now the last one, true implies true is true, true implies false is false, false implies true is true, and false implies false is true. So this is the table. So we are going to be making use of this table now. It's going to guide us now to solve this problem. All right. So now to answer this, we need to get the truth value for P and for Q. Now, what is the truth value for P? Look at it. 6 is a composite number. 6 is a composite number. So I need you to give me the truth value, this and Q. So what is the truth value of this statement? 6 is a composite number. And also, what is the truth value of Q? Perfect squares are integers. So I want you to drop your answer in the comment section. Let me see. Yes, just like I told you, this class should be interactive. I've been working since, so I want you to also do something. So what is the truth value of this? So drop your answer in the comment section before we commence. So all right, I think we still have, I can see show me day. I can also see, okay, progress. Who else? Okay, Motrayo. Okay, miracle. Okay, so Riscott. Yes, let's drop our answer. What is the truth value for P? The truth value for statement Q. Yes, before we commence. Hope you guys can hear me. Yeah. Okay, Riscott, I've dropped an answer. Yes, P is true. P is true. What of Q? What do you have for Q? Okay. Yes, Omolara, I can see your answer. P is true. Q is true. Okay. Yes, is there anyone else? Yes, I can see Opeyemi. P. Okay, or do you want to say P and Q are true? All right, so Riscott, Q is also true. Yes, Mutunayo, P is true. Q is true. All right. Okay, because of our time now, let us see. I think every one of us are on the line. All right. Now, 6 is a composite number. Yes, 6 is a composite number because composite numbers are natural numbers that have more than 2 divisors. They have more than 2 divisors. So, and the least of them is 4. After 4, we have 6. Right, so 6 is a composite number. So that makes this statement to be true. And let's look at Q. Q, yes, perfect squares are integers. So perfect squares are integers. Example of perfect squares, we have 1, we have 4, we have 9, we have 16, 25, 36, and so on. Okay, so they are all integers. So we have true. Good. So now let us now find the truth value. The truth value for the first one, we have P and negation of Q. So what is going to be the answer to this? Just plug in the truth value of each of the statements in here. So we have true and negation of true. That is the same thing as true and false. True and false. What is going to be the answer? You can check that on your table, but I expect you to master it. So your answer is going to be false. You can see true and false is false. This is the AND table. True and false is false. So that makes this answer to be false. So false is the correct answer. Okay, can we move down to the second one? So we have this. We have P or Q implies negation of P. Okay, so what do we do here? Let's plug in the values, the truth value of each of these statements. So now we have true or true implies negation of truth. Okay, so we have true or, now this is T implies, this is going to be false. Negation of true is false. Okay, so we have true or. Now what is true implies false? True implies false is false. And let's look at it. Implication. True implied false is false. True implied false is false. So that makes what we have in the bracket to be false. And what is going to be the answer to this? True or true? That gives us what? True. So the result is true. True or false? Let's see, this all table, true or false? True or false is true. So the answer is true. Okay, so now let's move down to the next question. Yes, we have P or Q implies negation of P and Q. Right, let's plug in the truth value for each of the statements. So we have true or true implies negation of true and true. So this gives you true. True or true is true. And check that. True or true is true. So we have true implies negation of true and true is true. Look at the AND table. True and true is true. So we have true here. So then we have true implies, negation of true is what? False. And true implied false is false. You can check that there. True implied false is false. So that is that. So and let's look at the last one. Let's look at the last one. We have P implies Q implies P and negation of Q. So can we plug in the values? Okay, now before I do this, I want you to quickly try it and let me know the answer. Drop the answer in the comment section so that I won't be the only person solving the problem. All right, so let's do this. So what is going to be the truth value of this proposition? Let's find the truth value for P implies Q implies P and negation of Q. Okay, someone have dropped an answer. Omolara have dropped an answer. I can see false. Yes, is there another one? Another person? Yes, Discord, I can see false. Yes. Yes, Motorios results. I think okay. All right, because of our time, yes. Progress, you are welcome to class. So yes. All right, now let's solve the problem together. Now you have to find the truth value for this proposition. We plug in the truth value of statement P and statement Q. Now let's plug that in. So we have true implies true implies true and negation of true. Okay, so let's see. What do we have here? So we have true implies true is true. So we have that on the table. You can check. We have true implies. Now this is true and negation of true, that is false. Okay, so and that is true implies. Now true and false. True and false is false. Look at the ant table. True and false is false. This is ant table. So, and then what's going to be the answer? True implied false is going to be false. So that means we are all correct. Okay, so yes, because of our time, we are going to be stopping here today. So hopefully by tomorrow, we are going to continue from where we stopped here. So I want to encourage you, ensure you solve problems, just continue solving. The more you solve, the better you become. And don't always forget to share this video with your friends. Whenever you are here, you can always send the links to your friend. Let us have a good number on the platform. And also don't forget to always check my previous videos. I've made a lot of series on all of these topics that we are doing currently. So you can always go through them, at your own free time. Okay. So I so much appreciate you for being online today. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.